Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Avoiding Avoidance podcast. I'm Christina,
And Sean.
and today we're going to talk about a couple of different topics. Do you want to open us up with our first one?
I'd like to just do you have anything to say about anything going on this week since the last few podcasts or anything?
I mean, we've been getting a lot of interaction and followers, so we really appreciate that.
Yeah, actually, a lot of we're getting a lot of support from a lot of you guys, and ever since we put ourselves on all the different networks, we've been getting supporters from like everywhere and every walk of life, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been pretty awesome, actually.
Yeah, actually, we were looking at the metrics earlier, and you said that what 73, 74% was women.
Yeah, it was pretty high percentage for women, which is great. But we're just curious. I wonder, if any of you women want to respond, why you feel connected to this podcast or why you think men aren't as connected to this podcast.
I think it's because men don't usually express their emotions to this level. I think it's still stigmatized for men to. I don't know. Like lately, it's been a lot more diversified. Like everyone is getting in touch with their emotions because mental health right now is trendy.
Yeah.
Like I said before, I don't like that it's trendy, but I like that it's trending. I like that more people are talking about it. But still, there's not a lot of men that open up about abuse, trauma, or anything like that. You know, it's stigmatized. It's almost like you're weak as a man. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to be the strong person. You know.
Do you think anything specific made you more open?
uh, Growing up around a lot of women. My family has always been very in touch with their emotions. My grandma has always encouraged me to express my emotions.
Oh, okay.
So, that helped me. But
Right.
yeah, I think for men, a lot of us are taught to like be strong and tough it out and don't cry over that, like a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that things are that way because there's really no reason why that should be the case.
No, everyone, doesn't matter your gender, doesn't matter your race, doesn't matter whatever. We all have our own problems. We all need to talk about them.
Right.
But yeah, I'm just curious as if you have any thoughts to why it might be more women. I think maybe most of the women are just more emotionally mature and open to talk about these things and listen to people talk about these things.
I mean, women are just better overall, so that could be the reason.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not gonna agree there. I gotta hold the guys down there. I think we're all pretty equal. But I do think a lot of women are more comfortable talking about their emotions than men are. And like I said, from where I'm from, men don't talk about their emotions like at all. Like it's not a thing, and it's not just where I'm from. It's most people, but men specifically are considered, they're supposed to be hard and
Right.
tough and supposed to be the leaders. So they can't cry, they can't talk about their trauma, and they can't do those things on a daily basis.
I feel like things in that type of area would be better if men were more
It would be.
open. So
It
you
would
can
be.
talk with words instead of guns.
Yeah, or violence in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people do. I think a lot of people use violence and anger instead of communication because they lack the communication and they lack the emotional maturity to communicate with someone else. But anyway, what topics do we have this week? I just was wondering because when we're looking at the metrics, it was a lot of women. So I was just wondering that if you guys have any opinions on that, let us know.
Yeah, definitely. So I know we wanted to talk about confronting our loved ones in terms of how they feel about our mental health issues.
Okay, and I guess the difficulties and stuff that come along with doing
Yeah.
that. All right, you want to start? I have a lot of things about this, and I'm sure you do too.
Actually, I'm not totally sure. I'm trying to get my mind kind of together. So if you want to.
Okay, so if I want to lead, confronting loved ones. By loved ones, we mean people you're in a relationship with, family members, close friends, any type of relationship you have with the person. So for me, it's hard to. I know we're using the word confront doesn't mean confrontation, but it means to talk to that person and open up. So for me, it's like my friends I can express myself to, but I don't feel like I get that much response from it. And for like example, I'll use my parents as an example. My mom is very open to it now, but my grandparents, like my grandpa, who also has anxiety and is just learning about it. He used to be one of those people that's just like, oh, it's just, you're just a little anxious and you're just a little bit sad. It'll pass or whatever. So it's harder to talk to people when no matter who the person is, if one person tells you, something like, "Oh, it's all in your head. Just get over it," or "It's just you're a little bit sad to get over it," whatever. It makes you less likely to open up to other people in the future. Specifically, I'll give a specific story here. When that whole thing happened with, I don't know how deep I'm allowed to talk about this, but when that whole thing happened with your friend, that whole situation we had happen with your friend.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because you just weren't responding all the way. Yeah, but when we had that situation, when I tried to talk to my friends about that situation, none of them really had any input. And it was something that was bothering me a lot. So I wanted my friends to like reassure me and give me like input, and
You think they were too stoic?
they're too they're too not in touch with their emotions. Most of my, like I said, they're all guys too. Like men don't really talk about their emotions that often. So I just think they didn't know what to do. So
Right.
yeah. Last night, example, when I tried to ask them about how many people they
Oh,
think
yeah.
in our neighborhood have trauma because of all the things that you see growing up in the neighborhood like that, and they said probably a lot, and none of them talk about it. But when I asked all of them, do they think they have any post traumatic stress from seeing people die, from their own lives and things that happened to them when they were kids or anything like that? Nah, none of them. All of them said nah, not nothing they have to talk about, nothing like that. Which I feel like everyone has stuff to talk about. Everyone's dealt with a trauma, whether it's just you can just lose your grandmother or mother to regular old age or a regular sickness or something, and that causes trauma. So I think all like, but people don't talk about it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So for that, it's hard for me to open back up to them when I want to get feedback.
Right.
Today I'm supposed to be talking to my mother and a close friend of mine. I'm not going to use her name because I didn't get permission to use her name. But knowing her, I'm sure she wouldn't care anyway. But I have a lot of feelings that I never confronted them about.
Okay.
They're both pretty big. My mother, of course, is my mother, so that it's different. But they're two people that are really important to me in my life.
Do you feel like you've lost them due to your
I feel like
mental
I've definitely,
struggles?
yeah, I've lost them definitely because not lost them because my mother, and this other person, if I contact them at any time, they will tell me that I can contact them and talk to them. I just contacted the one friend today and told her, hey, I need to talk to you after she shared the podcast. She shared the podcast and, told me, good job. She's proud of us for doing that. And I took that as the chance to tell her, hey, I need to talk to you about some stuff. But I've been, because of my AVPD, I haven't been reaching out to her. But even though I know when I reach out to her, nothing's going to be reciprocated but love.
Right.
But it's just hard to do so with the avoidance because it's like, well, I don't think anyone cares, or I'll just wait until they talk to me. And the same thing with my mother. I wait for my mother to engage me rather than engaging her about this when I know that she actually does care. Like, she posted the podcast today for us as well, and obviously she showed us she messaged us privately and told us how she feels about it and that she wants to talk to me about some of the stuff that I said in the podcast. So I want to talk to her about it, and that was my opening. That was going to be my step for this week, so that will be what I'm doing tonight,
That's a good step, yeah.
Have you even, sorry, I know we're getting off topic, but have you even started to make your step that you need to make?
Nope.
Okay. All right. That's cool. We'll get to that. You still got until the next podcast to do so. But you can go back to what we were saying before about confronting your loved ones. What do you feel about that?
I mean, I know that my family is very supportive of me, but I find that maybe they don't know as much about how I feel because either A, they don't understand it, or B, I've led them to believe that it's less than what it is. So, I mean, I'd like to explain that having anxiety and depression, especially together, it's just like oftentimes for me at least, it feels like I'm just going through the motions of life. And, on the surface, I'm fine. I can have good days and bad days still, but, things are tough and it feels like I'm stagnant in life. So I'd like to explain to my parents at least that, I'm not just out here being unmotivated. It's that I have the motivation. It's just hard to get out of this cycle.
Right. Yeah. That's what most of these things are, like depression and anxiety, and even for me, AVPD. A lot of these things are habits that your mind creates to protect you from the neglect or the sadness. So,
Right.
that's just your way of coping with not wanting to be like, rejected
Right.
by them. And I'm sure it's because you probably feel they're going to react a certain way.
Yeah, I mean, the most notable thing is, the whole thing that's happened in the past with me. I feel like they understand that it obviously has a big impact on me, but we don't talk about it much at all. Like maybe
Okay.
once a
Yeah.
month, maybe once every couple of months. So I don't know if they truly understand
How it
the
affects you.
day-to-day impact
Yeah,
that,
so you need
yeah.
to, that's what the point is that we're talking about taking the step. You need to talk to them about how it affects you. You're grown and they're grown, and I'm sure you can have a mature conversation about how this affects you. And I'm pretty sure they would really appreciate that. Your dad's really open minded.
Right.
So I'm pretty sure if you talk to him about the situation and tell him how it makes you feel and how it affects you on a daily basis, then I'm pretty sure that would make him very happy because he wants you to open up about this type of stuff.
It's hard to put a lot of this into words. I mean, and I don't know what my end goal is anyway. Even if they did understand, what am I even looking for?
You're looking for support and validation. You want them to validate that you have a mental illness so that they're not just like, oh, she's just sad, or oh, she's just a little depressed.
Right.
You need to let them know that this is a part of you and this is something you're trying to work through, and you need all the help and support that you can get to get through it. You need those people for that.
Yeah, that's true.
Have you not? I've noticed, and you've kind of strayed away from your family and friends a little bit since you started to have your depression, correct?
Yeah,
And you want them back. You still want to be with them the way you normally are. So
yeah, I mean that's another thing. I feel like a lot of my friends, I grew up with a very tight friend group, and a lot of people think that I'm ignoring them or purposefully straying from everybody. But honestly, it's been my mental health. I've been, so stagnant in things that, I feel like a couple months go by and I barely can remember what happened. So it's hard for me to keep up with social relationships because I'm just so wrapped up in, unfortunately, myself and trying to break out of this constant battle.
yeah, and we talked about this before. It's about comfortability.
Yeah.
So since you're comfortable doing these things, it allows you to keep doing them.
Yeah.
So you got to break out of your comfort zone. Like you said, this weekend you're going to go hang out with your friends. That's a good step. And talking to your parents is also a good step.
Yeah.
Even me, I need to talk to your parents more about me because I need to be able to be open and myself around them, so that when I'm around them more, that it's not awkward.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So today, for me specifically, I'm talking to two of my loved ones that I needed to feel like I feel like I needed to get some stuff out too, and hopefully that goes well. I mean,
Yeah,
hopefully,
I think it will.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure both of them are really understanding and really supportive. So, I will update you guys on how that goes for sure.
I was gonna say, feel free to be nosy. If we ever talk about something and you're like, "Oh, they were kind of secretive about that," but you really want to know, we'll say it. We just don't want to give you too much of our personal life if you don't really care.
Yeah, like I talked about on here about my issues and my problems with my mother. So if you listen to one of the other episodes, you would know what I'm talking about that. My other friend is actually an ex-girlfriend, but we we were we became friends after that. We were kids when we dated, or quote unquote dated. We were sixth graders, so it doesn't really count. We've been friends though for over 15 years, 12 years or so. So this person has been there for me through deaths and through other things, and I'm losing them because of not regular adult stuff, but because of my avoidance. I don't want to open up to someone and reach out to someone that I feel like hasn't reached out to me. But I know that for her, it's also, she's grown and she's doing stuff too. So why does she always have to reach out to me? I understand. It's like human nature. Everyone feels that way.
And I'm trying not to be a jealous girlfriend about it.
You're what?
Trying not to be a jealous girlfriend about it.
Why are you trying to be? Why the jealousy?
Because she's an ex-girlfriend.
But she's in a relationship and I'm in a relationship. I'm engaged.
Okay.
And she's engaged, pretty much. Like, so I mean.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm trying not to be a jealous girlfriend about
Okay.
it.
Yeah, you've been my fiance. Well, not my fiance. You've been in a relationship with me for 7 years. I understand what you're talking about because I get insecure sometimes. But yeah, it's nothing. And I appreciate you actually, not being the jealous girlfriend and allowing me to have these friends that you want me to open up to and have closer relationships with. So yeah, anything else on this topic?
No, not personally.
Ooh, another thing we said here is that for we got to give a lot of people credit for being quote unquote normal people, because a lot of people who don't suffer from something don't understand the
Right.
disorders. So some people legit think that having anxiety is just being anxious. It's not just being anxious. It affects you every day. It affects you in different ways of life.
Even physically sometimes.
Yes, it affects you physically. And same thing with depression. People think depression is just being sad. When depression is not sad. That's not what
I
depression
mean, it could
is.
be part of it, but
Yeah, you're sad, but I mean, depression is like a series. It's like a cycle of things that cause you to be depressed. And for a lot of people, you can't get out of bed some days. You can't get up and fix your hair.
yeah,
You don't feel
honestly,
like,
I mean, to me, depression is just nothing.
yeah,
That's the feeling I would describe it as.
yeah.
So it's just complete apathy.
For me, it's that feeling of, why do I want to get out the bed in the morning? Why should I get out the bed?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on with my life that I need to get
Yeah.
out the bed for? And sometimes, like I said, it takes a while for you to get out of that. You have to just get up and go outside or something like that. But I'm just trying to give credit to people who, like my family members or my friends, who don't understand it. It's because they don't understand it, not because they don't care.
Right.
So
So
that's
that's
why
part of- yeah.
that's part of why we're doing this, so
Yeah,
we can open
exactly.
up to people and they can understand what it feels like and what we feel like, so they can better understand that we're not just avoiding them.
Right. I mean, sometimes I am, but not usually.
Yeah, no, not usually. For me, I'm avoiding people because I have avoidant personality disorder, so
Yeah.
that's part of it.
So that kind of, but sort of doesn't lead into kind of double standards that we wanted to talk about. So
We already kind of talked about it earlier too.
yeah, like men versus women. We did talk about how men don't, or most men don't show their emotions that much, but alternatively, if there is a guy that shows a lot of emotion, like how do people?
Perceive it.
Yeah.
I feel like people perceive it way differently than they do when, for example, I'll use a pretty big example, but for as far as rape goes, people look at men who were raped differently than they look at women.
Oh,
who were
totally.
raped. That's like a big thing, and I don't want to go too much into that topic because we both have strong opinions on that topic. It's all equal, but I'll put it this way: I watched a talk show the other day, and the guy was in an abusive relationship with a female,
Okay.
and she was so abusive and trying to beat him up and whatever like that he locked himself on the balcony. When she started to break the balcony door down, he was so scared of what she was going to do to him that he jumped off the balcony.
Wow.
And everyone in the audience laughed at him, like, oh, ha ha ha.
Wow.
That's not a joke. If it was a woman in his position that was
You
so
feel
scared of
for
her
her.
boyfriend
Yeah.
that she had to jump off a balcony, no one would have been laughing. And that's what the same. I feel like it's the same way with mental health. I feel like when women have mental health issues and they come out and talk about those mental health issues, it's looked at far differently than when a man comes out and talks about those same issues he has. Because I feel like the way society is set up now is that men are still looked at as supposed to be the dominant, strong, macho figures. And to be fair, you can be both. Two things can be true. You can be the manly man and also be in touch with your emotions. I don't feel like there's anything more manly than being in touch with your emotions.
Right. No,
Because
I totally agree.
you have to deal, like, for me, a lot of people used to say I was sensitive because I always try to talk to people about their feelings and their emotions. But it's because I know people need that, male or female. But yeah, there's a lot of double standards involving mental health for men and women.
Yeah, for sure.
There's not much to talk about there. I just wanted to put that out there and see what you guys thought about that, because I'm sure some of you have experienced it. I see it sometimes on these groups where the women complain about something the man has complained about, and 100 people respond to the woman, but no one responds to the man who has the same exact issue.
That's interesting.
And the only thing I could think of is because it's easier to see women as victims than to see men as victims, because they don't paint men as victims in this culture. A lot of the time, men aren't victims because the men have a lot of power in the country and whatever, but men can also be victims.
Right.
And that's what I was saying. If this helps, the main reason I said this, because yes, most of our viewers are female, but I understand that just like me, there are a lot of men with these problems. So I want you men to feel comfortable speaking up about these problems to us or to a therapist or to whoever it may be.
And if you want that to be us, keep in mind we always say we can keep things anonymous. We don't have to know that you're a man
But
trying to.
yeah, besides the fact that we don't even need to put it on the podcast, it can just be personal between us, because that's what we're here for. That we're trying to help end the stigma of mental health and mental health being okay to talk about.
Right.
So the next thing we have is, what do we have on the docket besides that? So the next thing we want to talk about is a pretty sensitive topic, and we just want to make sure that everyone knows we're not calling people out. We're not trying to devalue someone's mental disorder or mental defects. We just want to talk about something that we know bothers a lot of people in the community of, especially like anxiety communities and mental health communities. All right, so I'll give an example. People misuse and mislabel mental health in a lot of ways. So sometimes, like for example, the perfect example is I have insomnia. I have really bad insomnia. I've been taking different medicines like trazodone. Was on Ambien at one point. Some people just stay up a little late every now and again, and they say they have insomnia.
Right.
They've never been up for 3 days straight like I have. They've never had 4 days in a row where you only get 2 hours of sleep. But they use it like that. Or some people say, I'm not trying to shortchange anyone, but some people will say they have depression, AVPD, SAD, and they've never been to a doctor to get diagnosed. They've never taken a medication, or they never took any steps to see what it is that could be affecting them. And I just feel like what it does is it makes mental health trendy. Like I said, I like that it's trending, but that with it trending, a lot of people are trying to cash in on mental health by saying they have some sort of, everyone who has been anxious at some point now says they have anxiety.
Right. I mean, they might, but I don't think it's as widespread as people would like to lead us to believe.
Okay, for example, I know someone personally who tried to tell me they have social anxiety disorder, which they've never been diagnosed with it. They never talked to anyone about that, but they think they have social anxiety disorder because they have stage fright. This person also streams. This person also does the in real life streaming on Twitch. Like, they vlog. They are a very social person at parties, and they go to parties and do all those things. So it's just in my mind, it's probably just stage fright.
Right.
They don't have any other they don't have any other symptoms of it. And sure enough, when the person finally did go to get diagnosed, the doctor just told them they had a severe case of stage fright. It had nothing to do with social anxiety, that is social anxiety, because you're scared to be in front of a large group of people.
But it's not a chronic disorder.
It's not social anxiety disorder.
Right.
Yeah. So I just want to say, like, a lot of people mislabel that, and I feel as though if you think you might have something, then at least, go get it checked out before you just start labeling it that, because like I said, a lot of people are cashing in on this mental health stuff, and it makes it harder for people who have mental health to be taken seriously, because everyone just throws the terms on there.
Right.
It's like how I hate when everyone goes, "Oh, I'm crazy. There's something wrong with me," and it's like, if you really feel like you're crazy, not because I don't like to call people mental health crazy, or if you feel like you have something that's going on with your mental state, then get it checked out. Don't brag about it on the internet. Get in one of these groups and get some help.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
You have any comments besides that on that?
No, I mean, I think you pretty much hit everything. I mean, when I'm in school, I feel like some people are like, "Oh, I have really bad anxiety disorder because I have a test tomorrow." Like,
that's not an anxiety disorder. That's general anxiety.
Yes. So I mean, it's all the same idea. I feel like people should take it seriously, and if you feel like that is the case, then go get help. Maybe take medication, start meditation, therapy, whatever the case is, and start bettering yourself.
Right. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. It's not, again, I'm not trying to shit on anyone's mental disorders. I'm not trying to down anyone for thinking they have something, or self-diagnosis, because sometimes self-diagnosis could be what helps you find out what's actually wrong with you. Like I said, I didn't know I had PTSD, but I self-diagnosed myself with PTSD, and sure enough, when I saw my doctor and he sent me to someone, they said I definitely have PTSD, and that could be part of what causes me to have AVPD. So that was self-diagnosis that turned into a real diagnosis.
Right.
But I didn't just walk around going, "Oh, I have PTSD." You know what I mean? But yeah, everyone. I'm glad that everyone now is trying to figure out what they have or what's wrong with them. But I think some people are just a little too eager to blame whatever is wrong with them on a mental disorder because they know that mental disorders are more accepted now.
Right.
So yeah, that's all I wanted to say. I don't hope I am hoping I'm not alienating anyone by saying that, because I believe that most people do have something or some form of mental disorder or mental problem that they suffer with, and I just want everyone to go about it the right way.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone to I don't want anyone to misuse this, because it's hard enough for us people who actually have these things to come on and speak about it.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Okay.
So next would be venting, which I guess technically we just did a little bit of.
Yeah, we did.
But do you have anything that happened this week that was crazy or upsetting or anything like that?
I already talked about the person with the claiming I don't have claiming I don't have AVPD, which I've been formally diagnosed with since very young age. That was whatever. But I did have someone else say that I'm trying to bank in on other people's stories for the podcast, when it's not true. I just want to say that the reason for trying to get people's stories is we're not going to be a guest-based podcast. We're not going to be a interaction-based podcast, because it's hard to get people to interact, and it's hard to be guest-based. If we listen to this podcast, we want you to listen to this podcast because you enjoy listening to us and our opinions and our feedback on these topics. So, sorry, where's I going with that? I lost my train of thought for a second.
You were talking about, feeling that.
Oh, they felt like I was just cashing in on people's their problems. But most of these people send us their problems on their own accord, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
And half of them that send us these things, they don't even get put out. We don't put these things out half the time.
Yeah.
It's the reason we do it is for other people to feel like their voice matters. Other people don't have this platform, and other people don't want to create this platform and use these platforms. So, in my mind, the best way for them to get those stories out and get feedback about those stories is through us.
Exactly.
That's all we're trying to do, is make sure that everyone knows that their opinion matters. No matter what your opinion is, or no matter what your story is, it matters, and it can help one other person. If it can help one other person, your story is worth telling.
Yeah, absolutely. So don't ever shy away from sharing your story, whether privately or through the podcast.
Yeah, even like we said, we have our personal Facebooks out there. So if you want to PM or DM, whatever the frick it's called now, if you want to privately message one of us, you can feel free to privately message us, or you can use avoidingavoidancepod@gmail.com to send us a private email and tell us what you don't want to use. Or if you just want to vent to someone cares, and if that's someone, the only someone you have is us, then feel free to vent to us.
But yeah, I don't really have anything I want to vent about this week. I've had kind of a crazy work week, but it's kind of par for the course with my field, so
Yeah.
not something I want to go into really.
I have a couple random topics I'd like to go on before we get into our closing, positive thing, and take a step before we get into that. So, this week I saw a story about a young man in New York who killed his girlfriend because she stayed out overnight, and he said she couldn't.
Wow.
So that's
Controlling.
one that's very controlling, and obviously there's something wrong with that guy's mental health. Because there's like I like to say all the time, you don't own people, you just experience people. Even if a person is your boyfriend, girlfriend, child, mother, father, you don't own that person. You only have the chance to experience that person through them being in your life. You don't own anyone.
Right.
And I feel like part of that has to do with the male ego. Like, not a lot of people have ego problems, but I feel like a lot of males, when their ego is challenged and their pride is challenged, it makes them do things that they normally wouldn't do. So I feel like, first of all, that's just a horrible story.
Yeah, that's tragic.
And rest in peace to that woman, because she did not deserve that. But I feel like if that person had learned how to express their emotions better, then maybe someone else would still be here.
Yeah.
Because there's no matter how big or small the argument is, the end solution cannot be to kill someone. It's like what we talked about earlier. A lot of people who don't know how to communicate with people resort to violence.
All he had to do is just explain why he was upset that she stayed out, and maybe how to. I mean, maybe a verbal fight, but some sort of verbal discussion that doesn't need to escalate.
Right. The point is, in general, he has no right to tell her what she can or cannot do.
Mm-hmm.
And then he also has no right to, I guess he was trying to punish her for what she did. You have no right to do either of those things.
Hmm.
All people are free and all people have free will and all people are allowed to do what they want. I feel like as a couple that you both people should always agree on whatever is going on. Like with me and you, we don't really have that. If you want to go out somewhere, I don't really have a say whether you go or don't go and vice versa. That's how it should be.
But I appreciate your input.
Yeah,
I take that into
and
consideration.
and I appreciate your input. So same way some males do with their females dressing a certain way.
Right.
They go, oh, you can't wear that outside. That looks too provocative or whatever like that. When I do that to you, it's more about protecting you. Then I don't want you to go outside in this. It's not me telling you what you can and can't do.
Right.
It's just giving my opinion. And if you still decide to wear that, then you still decide to wear that. That's your choice.
Yeah, we don't need to resort to violence over that.
Yeah, we don't need to. My whole thing about that is that one, I just feel like a lot of people need to get more in touch with expressing their emotions, and I feel like we would have a lot less violence in this world. And that was just a random topic I wanted to bring up because it hurt me, and hearing the guy say he didn't know how to communicate his feelings.
Oh, he admitted
He
that?
said he didn't know how to communicate his feelings.
Wow.
So that made me think about the fact that a lot of people do not have the emotional maturity to communicate their feelings, even as adults. And I think that starts with kids.
Yeah, it's totally preventable.
Yeah, like I said earlier, one way you can instill confidence in a child or any person is when they talk to you, actually make them feel like they matter. If you make someone feel like they matter when they talk to you, they're going to feel more comfortable opening up to you and to others in the future because they know how it feels to be valued.
Right, and they don't have that fear of feeling inadequate.
Yeah, it's like a lot of parents tell their kids like, "Ah, shut up, go away, I'm doing this right now." I feel like when you do that, it makes your kid go, "Oh, my parent doesn't care about this, so the next time I won't tell them this." And I feel like just basically listening to people and letting people open up to you, even if you don't have anything to say, just listening to that person can help them a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, we all need to get better at communicating our emotions, and that's what we're hoping to start here. We're hoping to get the stigma out of being able to communicate and being able to talk about your mental health, because mental health is not cool, quote unquote, to talk about, but it's not a cool thing to talk about anyway. It's not an easy thing to talk about anyway. It's something that's a very big issue in the world, not just America, and we all need to learn how to talk about it, because if we all learn to talk about it and we all learn to have empathy and understanding for each other, I feel like the world will be a better place.
Yeah.
A lot
sure.
better place.
We just need to talk about things and realize that we're all very similar, and there are ways to work things out without violence or really escalating it
Or
in any manner.
negativity or-
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, that's why with my friends, we all can have different opinions on something, but we can all sit down and respectfully have a conversation about it.
I mean, that's kind of how it is with my friend group. A couple of my friends are quite religious, and I'm honestly not. And it's nice that I have a friend group that we can have these open discussions and talk about afterlife and daily life and rituals and all that kind of stuff, and not bring offense to someone, but at the same time be able to open minds between each other.
Right.
So I'm very appreciative of that.
Yeah, like for a perfect example, for me, I have my friend group. A lot of people don't curse in my friend group, but the main three, me and my brothers, we all curse a shit ton. So it's like I curse a lot less on this podcast than I do in actual life, but we all do that. But all of our friends are accepting of that. They're not judgmental because we talk the way we talk. So I feel like that's all people need to do, is allow people to be themselves and allow people to be open, and that's what we want here. We want everyone to be able to be open, completely open, be yourself, and be embraced still, because we all have our flaws, we all have our problems, but we all still deserve to be loved, we all still deserve to be heard, and we all still deserve to be embraced by someone or something.
And if someone in your life, like in real life, isn't there for you, we will be. So you always have I guess, two sets of shoulders to cry on if you need it.
Yeah, definitely. And as we build this community, we hope to build this community with like-minded people.
Yeah.
So hopefully there will be a lot of shoulders for everyone to cry
That's
on,
true.
and we can all get together as a group and embrace each other and love each other and give that real, genuine support that you can only get from people who are open and honest.
Yeah, for sure. So I wanted to go into positivity.
Our one positive thing.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I'm not feeling super positive this week, but
You're not feeling super positive today for sure.
yeah, it's kind of one of my down days.
It's okay, baby.
But I can still think of something. I think we always should. That's kind of the point, to push yourself to be positive. So I guess my one positive thing would be, I had something and it just went out of my mind. Do you have anything you wanted to go?
Can I give a positive thing to you?
Sure.
I feel like you have two positive things this week, because if you could think of another one, then I have one for you, which is that you shared it and you got a lot of feedback from a lot of your friends. So you got a lot of your friends to listen to the podcast, and you got a lot of your friends to like the new page.
That's true. I never really talked to my friends about my mental health that much, so that's true. Yeah. This is a kind of a way to do it.
That was a big step for you.
Yeah.
That was a big step in letting them in, and not only letting them in, letting the rest of your Facebook friends and your bigger, larger friend group and family members also. You also let your family members see the podcast, which is also a big step, because you don't even get this open with them. So
right, that's true.
There you go. I feel like that's a good positive thing that happened this week.
That's very true. I didn't think about that.
And besides being positive, it's also a huge step.
So that knocks out both for this week.
Yeah, that knocks out both for you.
How about you then? Anything positive?
For me, the positive thing is that I'm going to talk to my friend, and I'm going to talk to my mom today. That's really positive.
That's cheating.
Why?
What about a past positive thing?
A past positive thing? That I felt comfortable enough to put these things on my Facebook page too.
Okay.
Because like I said, I feel like a lot of the people I know are where I'm from, and I don't think a lot of them care about opening up about that. But I'm hoping to reach at least one or two people on my page. So I'm going to even post another one after this. But that's one positive thing, is that I got up the courage to do that.
Right. Okay, that works.
And I'm also going to be, for the next thing we always do is taking a step. My one with my mother is coming tonight, and I will report back to you guys on how well that went. Or, yeah, it's going to go well. My mother cares a lot about my mental health now, and it's going to go well. And my friend also. So yeah, that's going to be my taking the steps. And I think you got one step closer to taking your step too, because you let your parents hear the podcast, so they can already gauge what you have to talk to them about.
That's true. So that's one thing out of the way. I could just kind of talk through the podcast and hopefully come to some understanding with them, with everyone.
Yeah. And I'm proud of you. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you. I'm proud of you too.
Yeah. And I love you very much.
Oh, I love you too. It's corny.
Yeah, it's very corny. But yeah, we really appreciate you guys and all your support. Again, we have so just put some news here. We're gonna also have a Sunday podcast. The 2 days we're gonna release the podcast on are Tuesday and Sunday. It'll probably usually be later Tuesday night and Sunday night or afternoon.
Yeah, and then with like little mini episodes or random snippets that might come
in between. Yeah, we also have a Facebook page and a Facebook group that we're doing. The Facebook page is at Avoidant Avoidance on Facebook, and there's also a link to the group inside that.
Yeah, and it's just called Avoiding Avoidance Podcast Group.
Yeah, because we want to get a community started and we want to get the dialogue started. So what we're going to also start doing is at the end, not at the end, when we release the podcast, like this Tuesday podcast we're releasing now, we're going to take that, and when we post it, we're going to also post the topics for the Sunday episode. So between Tuesday and Sunday, we can get interactions from you guys on the topics, and we'll be, reiterating that throughout the week, so we can get more and more people to give us feedback on the topics, so we can use you guys' comments, suggestions, and topics on the next actual episode. And that's going to be every week. We're going to do that. So yeah. No need to shout out everything. We also are finally on like all streaming platforms.
Yes.
We're on Spotify.
I don't even know if I can name them all.
Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, right?
Stitcher, Google Play. I think that might be it.
YouTube, Fireside.
Oh, YouTube. Yes. Okay.
So
Yeah.
we're like on everything you can find podcasts on
Yes.
now.
And if for some reason there's a strange podcast app that isn't one of these, if you go to avoiding.fireside.fm/RSS, that'll give you a code that you can input into your podcast app so that you can basically be subscribed to our episodes.
Yeah, okay, that's good.
So doesn't really matter where you want to listen to it. You're welcome to do it in any way.
Yeah. All right, and now that's pretty much all we got for you guys. Oh, I did want to say one more thing because I always say avoid your avoidance, and I had a lot of people ask me they don't understand the concept. A lot of people are thinking that I'm saying when these things bother you, just avoid them. That's not what I'm saying at all.
It's the opposite.
It's the opposite of that. So when you have a moment where you feel avoidant or you feel scared to do something, that some like if you have for avoidant people, it's a bunch of habits. So for me, I have a habit of not getting on a crowded elevator. So when that avoidance comes up, I'm going to avoid it by doing that thing. So what I'm saying is everything that makes you avoidant, everything that makes you scared, avoid it and tackle it. And if you get a positive feedback from it, then that will reinforce you doing it the next time. So it's not about running away from your problems. It's about avoiding your problems. I know that's a hard concept to understand, but that's what it's about. And so yeah, I'll say it again. Just make sure every week you try to avoid your avoidance.
Yes, and avoid the negative things in your life. I guess that's really the point.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening. Please interact with us. We are interested in your thoughts, and we're eager to get back to you. If you have any questions, please comment wherever you listen to your podcast. We'll find it, we'll respond, or you can hit us up on Facebook, and we'll respond from there as well.
All right, then. You guys have a great night and
A great week.
a great week.
All right. Thank you.